Today, we're getting into something every parent feels at some point, our own emotional reactions. Those moments when we react in a way that just doesn't feel like us. Why does that happen? Well, we're going to dig into the work of psychotherapist Philippa Perry to figure it out. So let me ask you this. Have you ever found yourself snapping at your child over something small, like a spilled glass of juice suddenly feels like a personal attack? And then in the quiet moment after, you just think to yourself, where on earth did that come from? If that sounds at all familiar, you're in exactly the right place. Okay, so here's the core idea we're going to explore. The way we were parented has a huge impact on how we parent. Now, this isn't about blaming anyone, it's just about awareness. See, our childhood experiences don't always stay neatly tucked away in the past. Sometimes they leak out, and a story from Perry's work makes this crystal clear.
So let's meet Tay. Picture this. She's at the park with her daughter. Her little girl is playing on a climbing frame. She slips and does what any kid would do, lets out a big howl and reaches for her mom. A totally normal, everyday kid moment, right? But what happened next was not so normal.
Look at this disconnect. It's wild. On the one hand, you've got the child who just needs a hug, some comfort, and to know she's okay. But what does she get from Tay? A sudden, surprising wave of anger. Instead of comfort, Tay just feels intense irritation at her daughter's cries. This is that classic, where did that come from moment in action. And here's the thing. Tay's anger didn't really belong in that moment at the park. It was an echo. When she thought about it later, she realized that whenever she fell or cried as a little girl, she was shamed for being clumsy. Her daughter's fall was basically pressing an old, painful button. That intense feeling was her past, literally leaking out into her present.
All right, so just recognizing that this leaking happens is a huge first step. But the next step is to understand what's actually going on inside of us in those moments. And to do that, we have to talk about something called emotional triggers. Now, a trigger isn't just something that annoys you, like traffic. No, a trigger is when a pretty small event in the here and now, maybe your kid whining or ignoring you, unleashes this massive wave of emotion that is totally out of proportion to the situation. That oversized reaction, that's your clue that it's connected to something much, much older.
And listen, if this is starting to sound familiar, I want you to know you are so far from alone. Perry makes it really clear that for a huge number of us, it's not until we become parents ourselves that we even start to discover these echoes from our own childhoods. It's a really common, deeply human experience. So what can you actually do when you feel that emotional hijack happening? This little exercise is a game changer. First, just name it. Okay, I'm feeling really angry right now. Step 2, get curious. Ask yourself, when have I felt this exact way before? That's how you trace the echo. 3, think about what you needed back then, in that original moment. Was it comfort? Patience? And then the final and most powerful step, you can choose, right now, to give your own child what they need. And in doing so, you actually start to break that old cycle. Okay, but what if the moment has already passed? What if you did yell, or you shut down? Is it too late? Absolutely not. And this is where one of the most hopeful ideas in all of parenting comes in, the incredible power of repair. Because our mistakes, they're not failures, they're opportunities. Let's just get one thing straight. There is no such thing as a perfect parent. It doesn't exist. Every single close relationship has what are called ruptures. These are the misunderstandings, the crosswords, those moments where you just aren't on the same page. They are going to happen. It's inevitable. So what really matters in a healthy relationship isn't avoiding those ruptures. It's what you do after. It's about repair. Repair is that conscious choice to come back together. It's saying, hey, I'm sorry I yelled. I was feeling overwhelmed. It's taking responsibility for your side of things and reconnecting. That's the magic right there. Take Mark's story, for example. His father left when he was a kid, which created this deep wound around abandonment. So what happened when he became a dad? Whenever his own son got really upset and needed him, Mark's old fear would kick in, and he just withdraw. He was unintentionally replaying this incredibly painful pattern, and seeing that connection was the first step he had to take to change it. And here is maybe the best news of all. It is never, ever too late to repair. You can go back and fix a rupture that happened 5 minutes ago, 5 years ago, or even longer. Just acknowledging what happened and apologizing, without excuses, can be so incredibly healing for everyone involved, no matter how much time has gone by. So we've talked about our reactions to our kids, but what about our reaction to
ourselves. After one of those tough parenting moments, there's usually another voice that pipes up, right? And it's often not a very kind one. Let's talk about the inner critic. The inner critic is that nasty, judgmental voice in your head. It's the one that whispers or shouts things like, "I'm such a bad mom," or "I'm totally failing at this." A lot of the time, that voice is just an echo of criticism we heard when we were kids. And all that self-blame does is keep those old wounds open and drain us of the very patience we need to be a good parent. So, what's the antidote? Self-compassion. It's about consciously swapping out that harsh criticism for a kind reframe. So instead of "I'm a terrible mother," try "I'm a good parent who's just having a really hard moment." Instead of "I've messed everything up," remind yourself "I can repair this." It's really about learning to talk to yourself the way you would talk to a good friend who's struggling. And here's a super practical way to do that. 4 steps. First, just notice when that voice shows up. Second, and this is so important, name it. Say to yourself, that's the critic talking. It's not me. That little bit of space is everything. Third, get curious. What is it trying to protect you from? Usually it's shame. And finally, you actively replace its message with something kinder. Okay, so we've traced our reactions back to their roots, we've learned how to repair after things go wrong, and we've started to quiet that mean inner critic. All of this brings us to the final, and I think most powerful idea of all, creating your very own new legacy. Let's be really, really clear about this. None of this work is about blaming our parents or getting stuck in the past. Not at all. It's about understanding our history so that we can finally be free from it. Because when you have that awareness, you get the power to choose how you want to show up in the present. So, what are the big takeaways here? First, when you feel those big emotions, get curious. Name them so you can understand where they're coming from. Second, remember that ruptures are not failures. They are chances to connect more deeply through repair. Third, be kind to yourself. Reframe that inner critic. And finally, all this awareness gives you the power to choose responses that actually line up with the parent you truly want to be. You see, this whole journey is about moving from simply reacting based on an old, outdated script to consciously responding based on your values today. It's about choosing to pass down a legacy, not of old hurts, but of awareness, of connection, and of repair. And that leaves us all with a pretty big question to think about. What new legacy will you choose to create?